فحدث صدق الله العظيم.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair, that was beautiful. Now I'd like to call upon Sister Iqra Ali to recite beautiful nasheed praises on the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
सल्लल्लाहु अलैका या रसूल अल्लाह व सल्लम अलैका या हबीब अल्लाह. दीवाने जो भी मंगते ने शहे अबरार दे देने, दीवाने जो भी मंगते ने शहे अबरार दे देने. करम कर देने जिस वेले, करम कर देने जिस वेले ते नस्ला तार दे देने. दीवाने जो भी मंगते ने शहे अबरार दे देने. दीवाने जो भी मंगते ने शहे अबरार दे देने. जदों ए बेवफा दुनिया मैनू अखियां विखाउंदी है. जदों ए बेवफा दुनिया मैनू अखियां विखाउंदी है. दिला से प्यार दे मैनू, दिला से प्यार दे मैनू मेरे गम हार दे देने. दीवाने जो भी मंगते ने शहे अबरार दे देने. दीवाने जो भी मंगते ने शहे अबरार दे देने. कसम रब दी नबी देना तू विक जांदे ने दीवाने. कसम रब दी नबी देना तू विक जांदे ने दीवाने. ए कुछ भी कोल नहीं रखदे, ए कुछ भी कोल नहीं रखदे, ए सब कुछ वार दे देने. दीवाने जो भी मंगते ने शहे अबरार दे देने. दीवाने जो भी दे देने मंगते ने शहे अबरार दे देने. अली हैदर ते बच्चियां दी मैं लजपाली तू सदके जा. अली हैदर दे बच्चियां दी मैं लजपाली तू सदके जा. कोई एक बार मंगता है,
Jazakallah khair, that was beautiful. Now, without further ado, as the great scholar Jalaluddin Rumi rahmahullah alayhi states, the company of the good will make you good. The company of the bad will make you bad. Those who are of the same nature will fly off together. Eagles will soar with eagles, and pigeons flutter with pigeons. Inshallah, may we be the eagles that soar with the company of such great eagles. Without further ado, Dr. Ghazala Hasan Qadri.
نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قد أفلح من زكى وقد خاب من دساها صدق الله مولانا العظيم. To respected guests and to my beautiful sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. It is with the blessings of Allah Almighty and through the wasila of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam that we are here today at this 3-day spiritual camp, Tazkiya 2018. I'd first like to take this opportunity to thank Sister Ansar Rauf, Minhaj Sisters President, and indeed her entire team, who have worked night and day to make this camp feasible. From the time it was an idea quite a few years ago to its inception, and now it's a practical reality. So I'd like to thank all of the sisters who've been involved in making this camp possible. I understand and I appreciate how much work it involves. I think when you attend a camp, you don't really know what happens behind the scenes, from registration, from the organization of it, the food, the seating arrangements, the accommodation, and then chasing sisters up, the beautiful backdrops that we have. Every little detail demands time. Every little detail demands attention. And I know for a fact that there are many sisters who work behind the scenes. You never see them, you never hear of them, and they never come forward. So to all of you, I give you my heartiest congratulations. And I pray to Allah Almighty, Allah Azza wa Jal, that He accepts your hard endeavors, He accepts your hard works. And I thank you for giving us and me, all of us, the opportunity to learn from each other, to learn and to come closer to Allah Almighty, to learn more about the deen, inshallah ta'ala. And I'm extremely honored and absolutely humbled to be here, to be invited here. There are so many wonderful speakers, there are so many wonderful people who could have come here, and I am truly humbled that I have been given this opportunity, and I don't deserve to even stand here and speak to you, and I find it very difficult to do this, and may Allah Ta'ala forgive me for anything that I say that is wrong or incorrect, and may Allah Ta'ala give me the tawfiq to do justice to the camp, inshallah, over the next 3 days. So this camp has been entitled Tazkiya, purification, self-purification, purification of oneself. And I think the question really arises, why is Tazkiya so important? What is it, and what is it that we are trying to achieve? Now, in the verse of the Holy Quran that I quoted right at the beginning, it's in Surah Ash-Shams, Surah number 91, ayah number 9, where Allah Ta'ala states, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. Allah Ta'ala states, indeed, the one who purifies his ill-commanding self from all vain and vicious desires and cultivates in it virtue and piousness, they succeed. So the question then arises, what is this, what is this ill-commanding self that we must purify ourselves from? What are these vicious and vain desires that we must purify ourselves to succeed? Now, in order to do anything, in order to do purification, we need to understand with some clarity and some depth the objective. What are we trying to achieve? What are we trying to strive for? What are we trying to change? Because then only then can we adopt the best strategies for that fact. Now, Sister Ansa referred to the very first Al-Hidayah, which wasn't called Al-Hidayah at that time, in 2004 in Scotland. And since those lectures, Sayyidi Shaykh al-Islam has spent his whole lifetime, in fact, talking about purification, talking about Tazkiya. And my lecture and my lectures over the 3 days is going to be an amalgamation of many of the works of Sayyidi Shaykh al-Islam. But today's particular lecture is a lecture that Sayyidi Shaykh al-Islam gave during the 2004 Scotland camp and also during Al-Hidayah 2007, where Sayyidi Shaykh al-Islam talks about purifying the self, and where he discusses from Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi's book Ihya Ulumuddin, the revival of the Islamic sciences, where Sayyidi Shaykh al-Islam takes some beautiful anecdotes describing the inner self, describing what it is that we actually need to purify ourselves from. Because unless we understand what our aim is, unless we understand our objective, we cannot then move forward. So regarding this inner self, now when Allah Ta'ala decided to begin the history of human creation, he built what Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi describes as a city of the human body. And just like other cities where thousands of people reside within a city, in the same way, there are many entities that reside within the human body which constitutes a city. Now, the basic philosophy of human creation is that it is composed of two essential elements. One is the zahir, the outer self, and one is the batin, the inner self. Now, Allah Ta'ala states in Surah Al-Hijr, Surah number 15, ayah number 28, Allah Ta'ala states, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وإذ قال ربك للملائكة إني خالق بشر من صلصال من حمأ مسنون. Allah Ta'ala states, and recall when your Lord said to the angels, I am about to create a human organism from an old, black, stinking, resounding mud. So Allah Ta'ala declared to the angels that I am about to create a bashar made from clay and mud. And that mud is infused with the properties of water, with the properties of fire, and with the properties of the sun. And all those basic elements constitute the outer body, the zahir. Then when Allah Ta'ala created the physical construction, the physical outer shell of the human body, Allah Ta'ala then decided to establish a government of that human body and decided to create a ruler over the body. And not only that, Allah Ta'ala decided that not only would there be a ruler who would rule that human body, but that ruler, that king, that queen would also be Allah Ta'ala's vicegerent, Allah Ta'ala's deputy, Allah Ta'ala's representative on this earth. So Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Baqarah that recall when your Lord said to the angels, I am going to create Hazrat Adam alayhi salam. I am going to create my vicegerent. After that, what did Allah Ta'ala do? Allah Ta'ala then states, وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي. Allah Ta'ala then states that when I created that physical constitution, when I created that human body, I blew into the human body my divine spirit. My divine spirit. So Allah Ta'ala, when Hazrat Adam alayhi salam was created, He blew into Hazrat Adam alayhi salam His divine spirit. And that ruh, that spirit became Allah Ta'ala's deputy and Allah Ta'ala's vicegerent. So when the angels, as you all know, were asked to prostrate in front of Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, when Allah Ta'ala ordered the angels, prostrate to my creation, they weren't in fact prostrating to the physical constitution of Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam. They were in fact prostrating to Hazrat Adam alayhi salam's ruh, to his spirit, because the ruh is the vicegerent of Allah Almighty, and they were showing that ruh respect and reverence. Now here we have, as Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi states, we have the human body, which is like a city, like a country, it's a city. And now we have a ruler. Who is the ruler? The ruler of that city is the ruh. Now when you have a ruler or a sultan or a president or a queen, there is always a capital city, a place that is known as the seat of the king or the queen, where the king, the queen, the president, the prime minister, where they reside and where they govern from. And my sisters, the capital city of the human body, the capital city where the ruh resides is the qalb, is the heart. It is the heart that is the capital city of the human body. That is why in a hadith in the Sahih of Imam Muslim, where Allah Ta'ala states that the Holy Prophet ﷺ states that Allah Ta'ala said that Allah Ta'ala looks neither at you nor your deeds. He just looks at your hearts and whatever is hidden in your hearts. So why is the qalb, why is the heart so important? Because Allah Ta'ala's deputy, Allah Ta'ala's vicegerent, the ruh, resides within that heart. Now this heart, it doesn't refer to the vegetal heart. That is just merely an organ that beats and pumps blood to all of the organs. No. This, my sisters, refers to the spiritual heart, the heart that is within the heart that contains the secrets. This is the heart for the place of gnosis, for the place for vision, for the place of understanding, for the place of wisdom, for the place of reasoning. It is a place, this heart, for piety. It is a place for the love of Allah and to achieve His nearness. These are the spiritual qualities of the heart, and it is these very things that differentiate us from animalistic behavior. So the ruh is the rightful governor of the heart. The ruh is from Allah Ta'ala. The ruh is from Mahalaya Allah. Allah Ta'ala states, Kulli ruhi min amri rabbi. kulli ruhu min amri rabbi. Allah Ta'ala states that the ruh is from me. The ruh is from the Rabb. Allah Ta'ala sent this ruh. Where is this ruh from? It is from Malai Allah. It is where Allah Ta'ala used to shower its lights and barakah and fuyuzat on the ruh. The ruh is from that place where the angels do dhikr, ibadah, night and day. The ruh is from that place where there is no injustice, there is no defiance, there is no disobedience. There is merely peace and an angelic atmosphere. And because the ruh is from Malai Allah, because the ruh is from that beautiful, pious, wonderful place, Allah Ta'ala has then given the divine secrets to this ruh. And the ruh has embedded these secrets, these divine secrets, into the heart. And those secrets will be revealed and can only be revealed if it receives the same atmosphere from which the ruh came from. That is why those secrets are not available to everybody. Those secrets are not opened to everybody because it depends on the atmosphere within it. So the ruh comes from a just and a pious place. That is why it is always seeking for that atmosphere that it comes from. So in order to help the ruh, Allah has given guidance to the ruh to create and maintain that heavenly atmosphere. And what are those? Those are the commandments, those are the ethics, the values, the divine revelations, the do's, the don'ts, the amr, the nahi. All of these commandments are there to help the ruh create that divine atmosphere of its origin. So if we enforce these commandments, if we enforce these guidelines, and we adopt that behavior, then insan al-bashari, the insan of this world, becomes insan al-malaki, becomes insan of the heavens. If we adopt those commandments, then our bodies would become from wujud al-bashari, the creation of the bashar, to wujud al-nuri, becomes part of the nur. So my sisters, here we have the ruh. She is the queen, let's say, and she is ruling the body. And her capital city is the qalb. And in order to help the ruh, certain windows have been created to help her create and govern the body. What are these windows? Well, these windows are part of her body. They are her eyes to see. They are her ears to listen, the nose to smell, the mouth to taste, and the hands to feel things. These are the senses, and these are in a way the secret agencies of the ruh that take and collect information on behalf of the ruh. But these agencies, these windows, also need some help. So they have a head. There is a head that controls those senses. There is a head that controls those agencies. And what are the head? Who is the head? The head, my sisters, is the aql, the intellect. It is the intellect that takes the perception from the eyes, from the ears, from the taste, from the nose, from the hands. It is the aql that collects this information. And because the aql is the head of the senses, it becomes the chief advisor to the ruh. Every governor, every ruler, every king and queen always has a trusted advisor. And the trusted advisor of the ruh is and should be the aql. So the aql takes this information, this perception, and creates it into something understandable for the Ruh. So, my sisters, if the Queen is strong, yani the Ruh is strong within us and right, then everything is right. Her followers are right. Her secret agencies are right. Her armies are right. Everything is in order. But, my sisters, if the Ruh is weak within us, if the Queen is weak, then the secret agencies, the agencies that are supposed to help her, witness this weakening and take advantage of it. And they too, as they see the Ruh become weaker and weaker, then they fall into different types of corruption and they succumb to corruption. How does that happen? Well, once something that was disliked by the eyes, something that was disliked by the ears, when the Ruh heard this from the Aql, and the Ruh didn't like it, the Ruh found it embarrassing or didn't like it, it sent a message, this is wrong, to the Aql, don't do this. But now suddenly, when the Ruh inside is weak, the Ruh is weakening, and the Aql, the intellect, is collecting all this information from the senses and is listening to different things, gossips and hatreds and jealousies and whatever. Because the Ruh is weak, the Aql then doesn't know what to do. The Aql is confused because it sounds good, it sounds nice, but before the Ruh was strong and the Ruh would say to the Aql, no, ignore that, filter that, take that away. And so then the Aql, slowly by slowly, is also becoming corrupt. And the Aql then starts to convince itself that, yes, maybe I am right. There is nobody to correct me. The ruler, the Ruh, she is quite weak. And this sounds quite nice. This is good. I like this. This appeals to me. And then the Aql tells the senses, tells the eyes, give messages to the ears, tells them, seek more of this kind of information. Listen more to this kind of information. Do more of this with your hands because I find this attractive and there is nobody to stop me. But it is not just the fault of the Aql. The Ruh, my sisters, is weak. But just like any governing body, just like any government, there is always an opposition party. Just like here, you have the Conservatives in power. Who are the main opposition? The Labour Party. I'm not alluding at all that anyone here is the nafs and anyone here is the Ruh. I am merely making a point here that in any government, there is always an opposition party. And Allah Ta'ala, in all His wisdom, in all His majesty, has decided to make the human body a democratic government. So Allah Ta'ala also placed an opposition party within the human body. And what is that opposition? Allah Ta'ala appointed the nafs, the lower self. The lower self is the opposition party against the Ruh. Now, sisters, what is the function of the opposition leader? What is the point? What is its job? Well, think about it. The opposition party is always trying to gain more and more support. The opposition party is always trying to gain more and more followers. Why? Because the opposition party wants to capture the capital city. It wants to capture the qalb. Why? Because whomever captures the capital city, the capital, the qalb, they will become the ruling party. That, my sisters, is the sole objective of the nafs. Being the opposition party, its aim, throughout its time, whilst you are alive, its aim is to create opposition within you and to fight against the Ruh, the true vicegerent, and fight over the heart. And that is where, my sisters, the battle begins between the nafs, between the Ruh. And what is the battlefield? The battlefield is the heart. So how does this work? How does this work? Well, the Ruh being from Malai Allah, the Ruh being pious, being pure, being innocent, wants peace. It doesn't like warfare. The Ruh doesn't like battles. So it sends a message to the opposition leader. The Ruh sends a message to the nafs and says, Nafs, why are you doing this? What is the problem? Can't we live peacefully? Can't we negotiate? Can't we live together in some kind of harmony? And who does the Ruh send? The Ruh sends its chief advisor. And who is the chief advisor of the Ruh? The Aql. So the Ruh sends its chief advisor, the Aql, to the nafs and says, let's make a pact, let's negotiate. Unfortunately, my sisters, this is where things begin to go wrong. Those of you who work and have ever entered into a negotiation, particularly if you're in companies or you're in the law, in the legal field, you will know that the party who is the stronger party, the party who has stronger negotiation skills, will have the upper hand and will be able to negotiate a better deal. Now, the nafs is a very attractive opposition leader. It has many charms and attractions because the nafs belongs to this world. The nafs belongs to the dunya. And the Ruh is from the heavenly world. The Ruh is from Malai Allah. What the Ruh has to offer cannot be unseen. It is from the unseen. We cannot see it. We cannot perceive it. We cannot see what the Ruh has to offer. But what the nafs has is very readily available. It has the charms of the dunya. And it has all sorts of methods of deceit available to it. So when these frequent meetings happen between the nafs and the aql, because the nafs represents the dunya, and because we as individuals do a great deal to benefit our dunya, our nafs is so strong, what happens? Well, the aql is engaged in negotiations, but then the aql is attracted by the nafs. The nafs calls it with the charms of the dunya. And slowly by slowly, the chief advisor to the Ruh, the chief helper of the Ruh, the aql, now begins to like the nafs, begins to become attracted by the nafs. And so it begins to be influenced. And what happens? Remember, the aql is the chief, is the head of the senses. And it controls the senses. So now the nafs knows that if I have control of the aql controls the senses. And it is the senses, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the mouth, the hands, everything. That is what leads to bad things. And if I can control the aql, then I can control the senses. And if I can control the senses, then I can rule the body. So what happens is as the aql begins to get corrupted, begins to become more towards the nafs, the Ruh, the Malai Allah from the Malai Allah, the Ruh begins to weaken and it becomes isolated. It feels isolated because there is no one to assist her. There is no one to work for her. There's no one for her to talk to. There's no one for her to be understood by. Her armies have left her, and she is now imprisoned in this body. And it is at this point that she begins to cry. It is at this point the ruh begins to wail. And it is at this point where Maulana Rum in his Mathnavi begins and asks, why is the ruh crying? Ask the ruh, why is she crying? Because everybody has left her. Everybody has left her. And now, because all of the bodily organs, the hands, the heart, every bodily organ is now working on behalf of the nafs. And because the nafs has now become so strong, the nafs has now captured the heart. And because the nafs has now captured the heart, the nafs is now the ruler. And it directs all of the senses. That is why Allah Ta'ala states in Surah Al-Hashr, Surah number 59, ayah number 18, O believers, keep fearing Allah, and everyone should be vigilant to what He has sent forward for tomorrow. Allah Ta'ala is saying, be vigilant, be careful, understand what is happening inside yourselves, what is happening to your ruh, what is happening to your inner self. Be vigilant, because if you are not vigilant, then you do not know who has become the true ruler of your body. Just as the physical body, my sisters, we need to nourish it. We need to give it food. We need to give it sustenance for it to survive. And that's necessary, and we must do that. We need to do that. But the problem is, my sisters, the nafs is the ambassador of the zahir. The nafs is the representative of the outside body. And therefore, what the nafs does is that it makes sure that you spend as much time on your outer self, on your beautification, on the worldly things, on the dunya, because you need that nourishment, you need that. But the more you nourish it, the more you strengthen it through the dunya, the more the nafs becomes stronger. And also, the nafs loves the easy route, and it knows we like the easy route. What is the easy route? Well, the nafs will tell us it's easier to complain and to criticize than to keep quiet. It's easier when you're outside, when you want to go to the washroom, not to do your wudu, wash your hands and come out. That's the easier way, to wash your hands and that's it. It's easier to wear the clothes that the people around you are wearing, rather than change, rather than do something that you want to do, or rather than wear something that you are told perhaps in the Quran and in the Sunnah. It is easier to follow the crowd. The nafs will say, follow the crowd. It's easier, because not to follow the crowd will make you feel like an alien. It will make you feel different, and you don't have the strength to be different. So this is how the nafs works. The nafs is also not just the opposition leader. It also gets foreign aid. It creates intrigues and foreign aid to capture the heart. What is this foreign aid? That is Iblis. That is Shaitan. The Shaitan provides the nafs with the armies to fight the ruh, to fight the inner self. My sisters, this is the biggest problem that we face. We do not even realize this battle is going on within us, that there is even a battle between the nafs and the ruh. We do not even realize that the qalb, the heart, is the capital city. We are totally and utterly unconcerned with the inner state of our souls, but merely concerned with our outer selves. That is why Allah Ta'ala states in Surah Al-Hashr, be not like the ones who forgot Allah. So Allah Ta'ala made them forget their own souls. Here Allah Ta'ala is saying, don't be amongst those people, because if you are not vigilant, if you do not care, what will happen is that Allah Ta'ala will make you forget that you even had a soul, that you even had a ruh, that was pious, that was pure, that Allah Ta'ala had sent from Ma'lai Allah. You will even forget that ruh exists. And so you will never ever nourish that ruh, and the nafs will be the stronger one, and the nafs will be the one who controls us. So how does, my sisters, this nafs work? Because in order to understand how the nafs works, only then can we do tazkiya. Only then can we purify it, if we know the ways in which the nafs works. Now the nafs in its original form is called nafs al-ammara bil-suh. And that's in Surah Yusuf, Surah number 12, ayah number 53. Now this is the lowest stage of the nafs, and it is called the commanding nafs, the controlling nafs, nafs ammara. And this is the nafs that causes us to do bad deeds. This is the entity that makes us do those things we should not do, even though we know it is wrong. It is this nafs, nafs ammara, that makes us do it. Now the nafs ammara has powerful allies, powerful armies, powerful soldiers. So tazkiya means, my sisters, to fight these battles, to fight these inner battles, to fight these armies, to fight these inner soldiers that are supporting the nafs. This is what it means to purify ourselves. Now Imam Ghazali, in his book Ihya Ulumuddin, alludes to some of these armies. What are these armies that the nafs has? Well, some of these armies are quite obvious. One of the armies of the nafs is the tongue. How is the tongue an army? Because it's a tongue that sometimes lies. It is the tongue that backbites. It is the tongue that uses bad language. But what does the nafs do? We all know it's a sin to backbite. We all know it's a sin to gossip. All of us know this. We absolutely know this. But why do we do this? This is where the nafs comes in. The nafs justifies it. It says, don't worry, I'm just telling the truth. This person is actually mean. This person is actually horrid. I'm not telling a mistruth. This person did this to me. They did a bad act. The nafs will say, yes, talk about that person so you can warn others. You can tell others that this person is a bad person. Stay away from them. So what does the nafs do? It uses the army of the tongue, and it justifies your actions. Another member of the army is hasad, jealousy. Allah Ta'ala states in the Quran, seek refuge from the one who has hasad. How does that work? You say, I'm not jealous, I'm a really easygoing person. Nafs is very, very clever. I give you an example, a day-to-day example. There is a sister, she has some good news. Maybe she's won something in a competition. Maybe her daughter has won something in a competition. There is some achievement that she has been able to achieve, and she's happy, and she's telling you. what often happens? You listen, yes, I'm listening. What happens? Straight away, after a little while, or maybe even straight away, you say, yeah, you know what? I got the same thing. I did that as well. I found that as well. I have the same great good news. My daughter did this as well. Did your daughter get a good grade in English? My daughter got a good grade in English. Did your daughter get 80% in maths? Wow, my son got 85% in maths. Well done, great. How does that happen? What is the nafs saying to you? The nafs is saying this to you. The nafs is saying, carry on. You're just making her feel good. You're carrying on the conversation. You are talking to her about something that she likes. She's talking about her children. She's talking about the benefits of her children. She's talking about how good her children are, how pious her children are. And you're just making her feel good. You're encouraging her. You're helping her. But at the same time, by bringing in your own achievements or the achievements of your children, what are you actually doing? You are actually negating what she is saying. You are actually, in a way, making her feel perhaps lower. Perhaps that excitement that she had has now become lessened. But we don't see this as hasad. We don't see this as jealousy. We just think, well, this is just having a conversation, discussing. No. This, my sisters, is the way the nafs works. It convinces you that you are on the right path. It convinces you to say, no, that's it, she said enough, now it's your turn to talk. You don't have to listen to her that much, now it's your turn. This is how the nafs works. This is how nafs ammara works. Another army of the nafs is anger, particularly uncontrolled anger. If someone is mean to you, if someone is unkind to you, and you're rude back to them, what will your nafs say? Your nafs say, well, that person deserved it. That person should know that they shouldn't have done that. They need to be disciplined. They need to understand that this should not have happened. And so what does your nafs do? It creates justifications in your mind. Your nafs will not allow you to take a step back. Your nafs will not allow you to control your tongue, because the tongue is also one of the armies of the nafs. And then, if you give in to that anger, the nafs brings in another soldier, the soldier of hate. What does a soldier of hate do? First you had anger. You were angry at that person. But now the soldier of hate comes in and says, look at that. Maybe they did this at that time. Their intention was this. And then what does the soldier of hate do? The soldier of hate, it flames those fire. It gives oxygen to that fire. It gives oxygen and oxygen. And first of all, this was a small spark. And then that spark becomes a flame. And then that flame becomes a fire. And then that fire in your heart becomes hatred. And as that fire within us becomes stronger and stronger, and then that gives power to the nafs. That fire, that hatred makes the nafs stronger and pushes the ruh down further and further and further away, weaker and weaker. But these are quite obvious things, because this is nafs ammara, the commanding nafs. But the nafs is also nafs al-makkara, the deceitful nafs. It is very clever, my sisters. We do not even realize what is happening, and that is the sadness. And that is so sad, because we don't realize what it happens. Nafs al-makkara means it's the deceiving nafs. The nafs sees a person and thinks, this person is very strong in their ibadah. They're very pious. And the nafs maybe is a little bit weak because of that ibadat, because of that piety. So the nafs says, yep, I'm going to use some different tactics. So it has undercover agents, undercover agencies to make sure you do not realize you are being attacked. How does this happen? I give you some examples. Let's say you pray 5 times a day. Let's say you fast during Ramadan. You give charity. You do all these things. Now the nafs will never tell you, don't pray. The nafs will never say to you, don't give charity. No, no, no. That is not what the nafs does. The nafs will say, yes, pray. Definitely pray. In fact, make your sujood longer. When you're in the company of other sisters, when you are in the mosque, make your sujood longer. So not that only Allah Ta'ala is happy, so that everyone else around you can see, yeah, she's praying, mashallah. Look how long her sujood is. This is how the nafs works. It uses the secret agency of riyah, of pride, of arrogance. If you give charity, the nafs will say, yes, give charity, give it. But then make sure you kind of mention it in your conversation. Oh, yesterday there was an appeal for Palestine and I was so happy and alhamdulillah, I got through to the lines and I was able to donate $500, 500 pounds. Now we think we're doing this quite innocently. Well, we don't understand that possibly the person listening may not have been able to donate and may feel a little bit sad, may feel a little bit inferior. And so we don't realize even that what we are doing has now nullified our act. So the nafs creates riyah in your conduct. Oh gosh, you know, today my alarm didn't go off and I missed Fajr, or I nearly missed Fajr. The nafs is saying, oh, I nearly missed Fajr. So what? So the other person knows that you read Fajr. Do we look deep down into why we say these things? I'm not saying everybody does this, but you need to understand how the nafs works. Let's say it's Muharram, it's the 9th of Ashura, and you're fasting. Oh, are you fasting today? Meaning, I'm fasting. Are you fasting? Meaning, I'm fasting. I'm a good person. This is how the nafs works. To put things in your mind that you do not even realize is happening. Maybe that person isn't fasting. Now you've made them feel bad, and you've made you feel good. And then that creates riyah. This is, my sister, how the nafs works. Another example. The nafs knows you are on the straight path. The nafs knows you are pious. The nafs knows that you are a wonderful person, that you take your deen seriously, you learn and you seek the knowledge. But the nafs doesn't want you to be continuous. It doesn't want continuity. It doesn't want istiqamat. It doesn't want steadfastness. So what does the nafs do? Very clever. Nafs al-Makkara. Nafs al-Makkara will say into your ear, you love Allah Ta'ala. You love Allah Ta'ala. You worship Allah Ta'ala so much. Why don't you go to Umrah? Why don't you go to Umrah? Or a fantastic thing. You will do Umrah. You will do Tawaf of the Kaaba. You will kiss Hajar al-Aswad. You will see Gumbad al-Khazra. Go and do Umrah. A very pious thought. A very, very pious thought. How can that possibly be wrong? Of course, it's not wrong. But the nafs knows an individual. The nafs seeks the weakness. And then it sees, what is this person's weakness? So it brings in another member of its army. It brings in the army of greed and lust for money. And they begin to work together. So now you're working harder. You're working extra shifts. You're earning more money. You're striving harder for what? To go to Umrah. But in the meantime, what's happening? things begin to happen. Perhaps you're praying less. Perhaps you don't have time now to do your nawafil. Perhaps now you don't have time to do your sunnah. You are now working so hard because you want to go to Umrah that now your children are being neglected. Your family are being neglected. Your wife or your husband is unhappy because you're spending so much time at work. This is what the nafs wants. This is what the nafs wants. It wants to detract you from what you were originally doing by giving you the attractions of other things. And instead of being closer to Allah Almighty, the nafs somehow manages to take you away from Allah Almighty. You may become so much more involved in your studies or in your work and whatever you're doing that that good goal of going to Umrah may never appear because the nafs is also using greed and lust for money, lust for status. Maybe now you've got a job promotion. Maybe now you don't have time to take time off to go to work because you've been promoted, and so you put it off for the next year and the next year and the next year. This is, my sister, how the nafs works. The nafs will also redirect your concentration. It will try to confuse you. How? The nafs is very clever. It says, well, today, shall I do tilawah or shall I pray durood? Shall I recite durood? Should I spend 15 minutes reading tilawah and 10 minutes reciting durood, or should I do 15 minutes reciting the Quran and 15 minutes durood? Shall I do just tilawah? Shall I just do durood? And it puts these kind of questions in your mind. Shall I pray my sunnah, or shall I go to that lecture at the university because the time is short? Shall I pray my awabin nawafil after Maghrib, or shall I go to that sheikh there because he's giving a talk? Shall I attend Tazkiya 2018, Al-Hidayah 2019, or shall I give the money to charity? What does the nafs do? It makes you confused. What shall I do? Shall I do this or shall I do that? What is the right thing to do? And quite often we do end up doing nothing. We neither do this, we neither do that, because we are so confused. That is why, my sisters, it is so important to understand the essence of the deen. It is so important that along with tazkiyah, along with purification, along with understanding the nafs and the ruh, you also understand the essence of your deen. Imam Malik stated that whoever wants to become strong worshippers in the act of cleansing the nafs, they must also have the proper faham of ma'rifat and of the deen. These two things go side by side. The ulama of the batin, the inner self, were also specialists in tazkiyah. Those ulama who are the specialists in ihsan, in tariqat, in tasawwuf, were also great mufassirin, were great muhaddith, were great scholars of Islam. These things must go in hand in hand. Tasawwuf, self-purification and knowledge of the deen, if you want to achieve true piety and you want to defeat the nafs. Because without the knowledge of the deen, without true knowledge, the correct knowledge, you can still be misguided and the nafs can misguide you. Allah Ta'ala himself states in Surah Baqarah, ayah 226, Allah Ta'ala states that Allah holds many astray and guides many on the right path with the same example. Allah Ta'ala here clearly states that with the same knowledge of Islam, the same knowledge, two people can have the same knowledge, but if they are not on the right path, then the nafs can lead one astray. How is that? How is that possible? Well, Sayyidi Shaykh al-Islam gives a beautiful example here in one of his lectures. He says, imagine you have rain and the rain is falling and there is a grassy land. When the rain falls, if you cultivate that land, you take out the weeds, you fertilize that land, you give it time, you give it energy, and you purify it and you cleanse it, then from that land will sprout beautiful trees, wonderful fruits, sweet fruits, and lovely plants will grow. But if that same rain falls on a barren land, on a desert, or on a barren land, where the weeds have not been cultivated, where the weeds have been growing, then that rain, instead of creating beautiful and wonderful smelling fragrant flowers or sweet fruit, will become like a stagnant pond. And that pond will attract mosquitoes, which will lead to diseases and all kinds of things. So how does that work in an example? Again, the nafs, how does it work? The nafs says, you claim to love Allah Ta'ala. Your nafs says, that's great, you love Allah Ta'ala. But if your heart and your soul and your ruh doesn't have the seed of the love of Allah Ta'ala, the seed of the love of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, if your heart doesn't have the seed of the love of the Ahlul Bayt, if your heart doesn't have the seed of the love of the companions, if your heart doesn't have the seed of the love of the awliya, this is where then the nafs tries to detract you. How? The nafs will say, yes, you love Allah Ta'ala, you want to get closer to Allah Ta'ala, so do more ibadah, do more dhikr, stay up at night. There's no need to talk too much about Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. There's no need to talk about his love and his sunnah and his appearance and the way he looked and the way he talked. Just talk about the way he did things or what he said was good or what was bad, but that's it. Just love Allah Ta'ala. Why? Because your nafs has taken away those seeds. And the nafs is saying to you, yes, love Allah, stay with Allah, attach yourselves with Allah Almighty, Allah Azza wa Jal, but that is enough. That is enough. This is how the nafs works if you do not have proper knowledge of the deen. Take Muharram, for example. The nafs will say, yes, fast. Fast on the 9th day of Muharram. Fast on the 10th day of Muharram. Fast during the days of Ashura, because that is when, Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam took away the Israelites and they came away and got freedom. Yes, fast. It is our right too. And the nafs will quote to you the hadith of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam telling you to fast. And then the nafs will whisper, but there's no need to remember Sayyidina Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Why to remember that? That's just a historical event. There's no need to remember that. That happened so many years ago. In Islam, you're only supposed to mourn technically for 3 days and that's it. Leave it. There's no need to speak about Karbala. There's no need to speak about Imam Hussein alayhi salam. That's enough. That's it. Just fast on the days of Ashura and Allah Ta'ala will be happy. Allah Ta'ala will reward you. My sisters, this is the way the nafs works. It will take parts of the deen. It will assess your personality. It would look at your personality. It will do an analysis break your personality down and say, let me see, where are the weaknesses? Where are the weaknesses in this person? If this person doesn't pray, then that's fine. I've got no need to concentrate on that. Let me see something else. Let me see, does this person have a lot of anger? Let me instigate that person. Does that person not have much sabr? Let me instigate that person. Nafs al-ammara, nafs al-makara, they're so clever. And what is the problem? Is because we do not nourish the ruh. The nafs becomes then a dictator. The nafs then controls the aql. The aql then controls the senses. And what happens? The heart is captured. And when the heart is captured, the body is then ruled by the nafs. My sisters, this was the problem that Shaitan had. The whole time when he was in the heavens, he was worshipping Allah Ta'ala. He was doing ibadah. He was doing the zikr of Allah Ta'ala. Night and day he did ibadah. But when Allah Ta'ala created Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam, the nafs is concerned with me. The nafs is concerned with I, ana, me. So that is why Iblis said, me, I am better than he. I am better than Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam. Me. This is what the nafs stands for. But the ruh is from above. The ruh is from he. The ruh is from huwa, who. Allah, who. That is what the ruh stands for. But my sisters, we have neglected our ruh. We do nothing to give it sustenance. We give nothing to help it fight our hearts, fight over the heart, to capture the heart back. All we do all of the time is nourish this nafs with our bad deeds, with our habits, with our desires, with our worldly things. All the time. Every time you commit an act, every time you do even a small act, the nafs grows bigger and bigger and bigger, and the ruh becomes weaker and weaker and weaker. And finally, the ruh gets imprisoned within a small place in that heart, and it cries, and we cannot even hear the cries of the ruh because the nafs has taken over. And it is that nafs which makes us react. It is that nafs that tells us that she did what wrong to me. She hurt me, so I'm going to reply. She said this to me, so I'm going to reply this back. She was mean to me, so I'm going to be cruel back to her. I'm going to show her. She didn't say salam to me, so I'm not going to reply back to her. She didn't make eye contact with me. She didn't say hello. I'm going to turn my back and walk away. There are so many instances of how we behave, and each and every time we do these small deeds, the nafs inside is saying, yes, come, I need this nourishment. You are nourishing me. I am being so happy. I am getting stronger. And at the same time, the ruh inside of us is getting weaker and weaker and weaker. The ruh is thinking, I was from Malai Allah. I am from the heavens. I am from that place when Allah would show His blessings, when Allah would bestow His barakah, when Allah Ta'ala would bestow His fuyuzat. What and how has this happened? My sisters, this talk today in the beginning is for us to question ourselves, to look at our nafs, look inside yourself, look at your behavior, look at what you are doing, and compare and balance. Where does your ruh stand and where does your nafs stand? Are you nourishing your ruh or are you nourishing your nafs? My sisters, are we even aware that this fight is taking place? We wear our hijabs, we wear our abayas, we organize these camps, we do so much for the deen, but whilst we are doing this, how many people have we hurt on the way? How many people have we been rude to on the way? How many people have we snubbed and we do not even know? How many people have we been mean to, cruel to, ignored, been short-tempered with, and we do not even know? Why don't we know? Because the ruh is so weak. I want to leave you with one saying of Sayyidi Shaykh al-Islam recently during the camp, during his European tour. Sayyidi Shaykh al-Islam said, think